Pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One too many chairs here, I think.
I think it's on this way.
Here's the calendar. Okay. Remind you of that if I forget.
Okay.
Okay. We have a roll call, please.
Ms. Bilby? Here. Mr. Fedorcha?
Here.
Ms. Husak? Here. Ms. Pope?
Here.
Ms. Snyder?
Here.
Ms. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. Weber?
Here.
Ms. Williams?
Here.
Mr. Green?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, public comment. I see Ms. Bender wants to speak. Do you want to wait until the agenda comes up, or would you like
Okay,
to?
it applies to the policy portion in the calendar, so however I'm supposed to do that.
You'll wait till that comes up? Okay. That's the only person I have. Several other people have said they would like to talk about the high school, so you will be at the end of the agenda during public comment, just so we're all on the same page. You all received copies of the regular school board meeting held on January 12th. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Uh,
Second.
You got that? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. And so ordered. Before we go into special board reports, I'd like to say I'm sorry for the New England Patriots for their lousy showing on Sunday, but that was for Sherry. But anyway, special board reports. Gail?
Thank you. For the Carbon Lehigh Intermediate Unit, we did have our January board meeting. We voted in a member from Jim Thorpe, so we are back to a full board of 14 there. We also celebrated School Director Recognition Month, similar to how we had done so here at Northern Lehigh, so I want to thank the IU for that recognition as well. We did have our auditors come and give our financial report from Campbell, Rappahold, and Yursitz. No audit findings. It was a clean audit for the 2024-2025. So again, we're pleased to report that the dedication to that sound financial management is continuing. The last thing I would like to report is that on December 9th, we had our annual Toy Adaptation Day. That is hosted by the IU. A lot of times that is utilizing students from our LCTI or CCTI programs, and they take toys and make them adaptive to our special needs children. So things that you have to push a button, some children may not be able to do that. They use our 3D printers and some switches, and they adapt the toys so that all children feel inclusive on those activities, and they're able to get their hands on toys and be successful. So I want to thank, again, that group for continuing with Toy Adaptation Day. That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. LCTI, Mr. Fedorcha.
Thank you. I have a number of things to announce. I'll start with some good parts. We had our Skills USA last Wednesday. We have 3 winners, and I don't want to take anything away from the students who may be announcing that, so I won't do that right now. We have 3 winners who will be going on to the States. We also are having our National Honor Society on February 10th, and we'll be holding that at LCC. We also have our public auction on June 18th at 4 o'clock, and we have completed our annual comprehensive plan that's going to the state. On another end, with the health care costs going up, we are going to be facing for the first time in, I'm not even sure, 15 years or whatever else, of needing to furlough faculty and staff. And that is really a very difficult thing to do when you have programs that have students on a waiting list. So we're in a dilemma right now of how we're going to be handling that. We're hoping that we will have some retirements that we can fill in. But unlike a regular school district, we have teachers who have professional certifications. For example, we're not going to be able to move a plumber into healthcare or welding or whatever else. So it is a major problem that we're looking at. Because we're looking at that as a part of our budget, we are now put into, by the state, a position where we need to have a 60-day waiting period to go over everything and get our budget. So our budget normally would have been voted on this month, or no, I'm sorry, January, at LCTI, and then brought to the school districts. That is not going to happen. We're going to have to wait the 60 days until we put that into place and then have the LCTI board vote on it. We will not be getting a budget to the district till June. So, and it's not our fault, it's basically the state's laws that we need to follow. So that is where we're at right now at LCTI. And of course, the cost of healthcare all around, I think, is up like 29% now. In the consortium, Sherry's, I don't know if that's accurate, Sherry, pretty well.
It's 17.75.
Okay.
I think is what we ended up at.
So anyway, those are the things that we're dealing with at LCTI. But as I said, the good things are we do have students going on to the States with our Skills Olympics. That's all I have to report, Mr. President.
I also noticed that the LCTI had a reorganization meeting, and I would like to congratulate Mr. Fedorcha. I think you've been elected, is it vice president or vice chair?
Yes.
Vice chairman of LCTI. Congratulations. Okay, moving to legislative report.
I
Ms.
have
Snyder?
nothing to report
Nothing to
tonight.
report tonight? Okay, I normally give a short report. Tonight mine's going to be a little longer. I'm sorry, and it has to do with Eli Lilly coming to our area. And it's fantastic for our community. You know, they're building a plant in the area. We found out that Dr. Bieber, for example, has been involved in this for years and had to sign a non-disclosure agreement saying she would not have any discussions about the things that were happening because they wanted to keep them all under wraps. One of the things they were looking for, and I'm not saying they came here because of L-Tri-C, they were looking for an institution that could educate their potential workers and their workers in the future. And they were quickly enabled to check that box because of L-Tri-C being in the area. And we had done something similar with Amazon. If you remember, we were like one of 4 schools in the whole country that Amazon took on and sent a lot of people there. The bottom line is we're getting a $5 million grant to set up some labs, and they're not set up yet. It's not finalized, but it seems like it's going to be like a really, really fantastic setup and situation. We're also getting some other grants, $163,000 grant from the state for some other items, and it looks like it's going to just be a fantastic program. We've already been contacted by several universities saying, hey, how's our reciprocal agreement with you guys? You know, we want to take your guys, and when they get out, in case they want to go to a 4-year or so, it looks like at this point in time, and nothing's guaranteed, but you start there, you go 2 years, there's a lot of 4-year universities are ready to snap up to people and give them the last 2 years to get them a degree if they so desire. So that's a pretty big deal for the college, and I think it's great for our community, our school districts, et cetera. So that's kind of my report for the night, and we'll go from there. Okay, we have committee reports under meetings. You've all received copies of those. Da-da-da.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to see everyone tonight. So me and Maddie will be reviewing school events, and also we will be wrapping up winter sports as well. Students who are interested in taking the ASVAB test were allowed to on the 4th. Clubs in our high school are picking up more fundraisers, so our Patriot Club just finished their fundraiser with popcorn, and they did it with Double Good. And our student council is continuing to sell Gertrude Hawk chocolate bars. If anyone wants to buy some, me and Maddie can hook you up with them. National Honor Society has their induction for new members and officers this Wednesday on the 11th at 6 p.m. in the high school auditorium. We congratulate all new members and officers on this big accomplishment. National Honor Society and student council members have been working on Valentine's Day cards for the senior citizens at Fellowship Retirement Community. On the 12th, selected members will go to the community and deliver the cards. The citizens love to see the students and they love receiving the little notes that were written in the cards as well. We had a planned virtual day on the 6th, and we will also have off on the 13th and 16th for President's Day weekend. That is all I have for tonight, and now I'll pass it on to Maddie, who will go over sports and review other school events.
Thank you. So, to celebrate the end of the first semester, the administration is rewarding the students with a Dunkin' Cruiser. So on Thursday, February 12th, students will be able to get free drink samples or gift cards during lunch and learn. So it's just going to be like in the parking lot, and they're going to be allowed to go out and then get something, and then they'll come back in. The first literacy night at Peters Elementary is on March 5th. K through 2 students who struggle with literature have the opportunity to come out and get extra help. They are also being given materials to help in their learning. High school students are encouraged to come out and help. This is to support the continued effort of Bulldogs helping Bulldogs. The esports season starts this week, and their first competition was today. Theater season is in full swing, and the theater cast and crew are working tirelessly to give an amazing spring musical. This year's musical is Anastasia. It will be performed between March 12th to 15th, and tickets are available to purchase online on the Northern Lehigh website. Most of the sports have ended. The boys basketball team ended with a 7-15 record. Girls basketball does have a chance to make districts and ended preseason with a record of 9-13. Girls wrestling ended with a record of 4-3, and boys wrestling has one more meet at Freedom High School on February 20th and currently has a record of 1-5. And lastly, the new bocce ball program has a record of 4-2. They are first in districts and will be hosting the first district match February 19th in the high school gym at 3:30. Come out and support the bocce ball team. Thank you.
Any questions?
February 19th in Bocce?
Yes.
No, I might be wrong on this, but I remember something about chocolate bars before, and they gave one to every board member before. I just, it's in the back of my head, I don't, I'm just kidding. Thank you for your report. Any questions for the students? No? If not, we'll go to page 2, solicitor's report.
I do have a report, thank you. Very, very briefly. About a month or so ago, I reported to you regarding the Coleman versus Parkland School District decision, which upheld the board's right to amend its agenda at the board meeting based upon a vote and certain other requirements. There is a House bill, it's House Bill number 2146, that has been introduced, and in short, the purpose of that legislation is to unwind the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's decision in the Coleman case. They're basically, it would delete subsection E, which currently allows school districts to vote at public meetings to add any matters not previously on the published agenda to the agenda for that public meeting. So we are tracking that bill, and we will keep you apprised accordingly.
That's it?
That's it.
That's it. Okay. Moving to item H, Dr. Stoker.
Thank you, Mr. Green. I have several items to report on this evening. The first is our middle school curriculum guide and high school program of study. On the board agenda for this evening, you'll see the middle school curriculum guide and the high school program of study for approval. Thank you to Mr. Pine, Dr. Bali, Mr. Williams, Mrs. Delgado, our school counselors, and the school teams for updating those documents to reflect the offerings for 26-27. These documents have gone through our curriculum council, the board curriculum committee, and are on the agenda this evening for approval by the board. We look forward to that vote so we can begin scheduling students for the 26-27 school year. Last week, we celebrated National School Counselors Appreciation Week and Food Service Workers Appreciation Week. Our school counselors provide invaluable support to students' academic, social, emotional, and career development, guiding them every step of the way. At the same time, our food service workers ensure that every student has access to nutritious meals, helping fuel their learning and well-being. Thank you to both groups for their dedication and daily impact on our students' success. And I know Mrs. Fink is here this evening as well, so thank you to your team. Last week, our students represented the district at the 2026 Skills USA District 11 Championships at the Agriplex in Allentown. We are proud of their dedication and skills they demonstrated in a variety of hands-on, career, and technical events. The award ceremony took place Wednesday evening at Parkland High School, celebrating their hard work and accomplishments. We applaud all of our students for showcasing their talent and their commitment to their future careers. The following students competed in cosmetology: Gabriella Gentile from 11th grade. In cosmetology model, Layla Gring, 10th grade. In commercial banking, Samantha Maldonado in 12th grade. In automated industrial technology, Seth Winch in 12th grade. The unofficial results of the Skills USA Championships that were held on Wednesday, February 4th are that Seth Winch in automated industrial technology earned second place in mechatronics with his teammate. Congratulations to Seth and his partner for earning that top honor. Tomorrow night, as previously stated, at 6 p.m., some students from our high school who attend LCTI will be inducted into the National Technical Honor Society. They are Joy McCammon from 12th grade in cosmetology, Jaden Trunk in 10th grade for electrical technology, Jaylyn Oruska in 10th grade for emergency health services. Congratulations to these three students on their achievements and induction into NTHS. We also want to thank Slatington High School class of 1965 for their generous $1,500 scholarship donation. This gift will support one or two deserving seniors this year, and we sincerely appreciate their continued commitment to our students. I'd like to take a minute to recognize some retirements that will be on the agenda this evening. Lori Middow will be retiring after 20 and a half years of service to the Northern Lehigh School District. Ms. Middow received her bachelor's degree from State University of New York. She continued on with postgraduate work at Cedar Crest College and DeSales University before obtaining her master's degree at Cabrini College. While at Northern Lehigh, Ms. Middow taught 5th grade before moving to her current position as a 4th grade teacher. Ms. Middow will truly be missed by the students and staff of Northern Lehigh School District. Thank you, Ms. Middow, for your dedication and service to the Northern Lehigh School District families. We wish her a well-earned retirement. Dawn Tullio will be retiring from the Northern Lehigh Middle School after 27 years of service. Ms. Tullio began her employment at Northern Lehigh in April of 1999. During her time with the district, she has served as middle school detention supervisor, substitute secretary, substitute paraprofessional, and most recently, a licensed health room assistant. Northern Lehigh School District is grateful for her dedication to all of the students and staff, and we wish her a wonderful retirement. Lastly, Tricia Whalen will be retiring from her position as administrative assistant at the middle school after 27 years of service. Mrs. Whalen began serving the students and staff of the Northern Lehigh School District in August of 1999. Throughout her years of service, Mrs. Whalen has been known for her consistent reliability, dependability, and always going above and beyond daily. We thank Mrs. Whalen for her dedication to the Northern Lehigh School District and wish her a very happy retirement. Additionally, this evening, we have a presentation for the board and public on our 25-26 middle of the year data report. So good evening, everyone. As we reach the midpoint of the school year, this middle of the year snapshot allows us to examine how students have progressed from the beginning of the 25-26 school year until now. This data helps our building leaders and instructional teams assess growth, identify trends, and make timely instructional adjustments to ensure students remain on track for continued success through the end of this year. Earlier this year, our administrative team presented the beginning of the year local assessment data for the 25-26 school year. Tonight's slideshow builds on that work and focuses on the progress students have made through the middle of the year. It highlights growth within each school and compares middle of the year results to beginning of the year data to inform instructional planning moving forward. Board members, this presentation was shared with you through the last board update. In the interest of time and from previous board feedback received, a detailed explanation of the data will not be provided this evening. Instead, administrators will guide us through the slides and respond to any questions that the board and public have. At this time, I'll turn things over to Mr. Schneiderite, who will begin with the data from Peters Elementary School.
Thank you, Dr. Stoker. Good evening, everyone. I got it. Here we go. There's Peters Elementary School in its glory. So our first slide is data taken from our DIBELS 8 benchmarking assessments and represents the beginning of the year and the middle of the year data for Peters Elementary focused on early literacy. I'll leave it up there a moment. If you have any questions about that data, please do let me know.
It looks to me like I look at kindergarten and I see like the blue, which is the good one, they were at 14% and now they're 31%. That, to me, that's more than double. That's fantastic. And I look at the opposite for those well below. So thank you very much. That's a report that's pretty positive, in my opinion.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions or feedback? If not, then our next slide has basically the same data. It's DIBELS 8, but it now compares all students in Peters Elementary School to all students in grades K through 2 in the nation. You'll see 2.7 million and 2.4 million respectively. The top data set is the national average for K through 2 students, and the bottom is Peters Elementary. So I'll give you a moment. If you have any questions, please do let me know. Good to move on? Okay, thanks. Slide 3 here. This data represents our middle of the year math data for Peters Elementary School. The beginning of the year is on the left-hand side, and the most recent data is on the right-hand side. Below each, you will see the breakdown by the grade level. So I'll leave it up there for a moment if you have any questions.
What is IXL?
IXL is one of our online learning platforms. You'll see we
okay.
use it K through 12 as an assessment tool for us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Schneider, as you're going through some of this, is there a way that you can share with us what the team's working on or what you see as, these are numbers, great, I get it, but there's some underlying things that the team's gonna start working on. So what can we see that team working on that we can prepare for end of year and say, end of year, this is what we're looking for? Obviously, you want the numbers to increase, but you're working on something.
Certainly. So right now, as I'm sure you're all aware, we are engaging in a math pilot. So it's a little bit of a tricky time, I think, at both Peters and Slatington, because right now I have 6 teachers that are piloting 2 different programs aside from our core program that we are utilizing right now, Eureka Math. I believe we'll be ready to move forward and present at the next board committee meetings what that decision may be from our teams. We actually had a meeting just on Friday about looking at that. So right now it's a little bit challenging as far as specifics because we're actually using 3 different programs right now to determine the validity of, again, which one we're looking to move forward on. As part of one of the long-term things I'm looking at, Ms. Husak, we have a very defined and detailed reading intervention program where we have tier 2 and tier 3 programs that we utilize. In math, it is a little different, and rightfully so. Math obviously is different than ELA. In math, oftentimes teachers are working at the classroom level, taking their core lesson and then breaking it down into stations, so students get a chance for that specific practice. So one of the things that we had meetings on just on Friday at our in-service was how we can better meet the needs of students within math. And I think a long-term goal is to, as we're working on right now, both Mr. Briner and I define what our MTSS framework does for our ELA programs. We're also looking to now take that next step, but we can't do that quite yet until we have a math program, because obviously an intervention that goes along with that would, we choose the program and then we look at that intervention. So this year, we're looking to continue to sort of highlight what we're doing within the current program to meet those students' needs during our intervention time. Hopefully that was that made some sense. So, any other questions?
You discussed the piloting of the 2 different programs plus the current curriculum.
Correct.
Will there be an opportunity to pull the individual programs' data and compare them across the 3 at the end of the school year? So for example, these are the IXL scores of the students who use this program. These are the IXL scores of the students who use this program, and these are the ones who are using the program we've had in place, to kind of get an idea of how these programs align. Is one of them showing dramatically greater results? Is what we have showing greater results? Just curious.
So that is certainly possible, but it'd be very, not challenging, but it would be very hard to understand. One of the things we've been looking for at the board level is consistency in what we're getting and using to analyze data. Each of the 2 programs we have has its own individual data set. So it would be like basically comparing 3 different data tools and trying to make them 3 sets of apples and trying to make them each an orange. So again, we can look at that data. For me, because I'm not, we don't do PSSAs, we would have nothing consistent to compare it to at that time. So again, that might be something Mr. Briner can discuss when he's up there. But again, we can pull that data. We can look at what the students are doing, in relation to this data tool at the end as well. But again, it's trying to compare something that's a little hard to compare, because very similar to how you typically see an implementation dip when there's a new program. We've got 2 new ones, and we're trying to compare them to one that's been there for a while. And so I'm not sure, basically, I'm not sure what the meaning would be behind it. It would be hard to understand what the data means, but certainly it could be a data point. Hopefully that's understandable as well. So. Okay, any other questions? I will then move on to my last slide. If you remember, thanks to us transitioning last year to touchscreen Chromebooks and removing a technology as an early year barrier in kindergarten, for the first time ever, we were able to get kindergarten data at the beginning of the year. Typically, the middle of the year data was the first time we assessed them, but we were able to do that earlier. Although the reason this is separate is because we weren't able to get it on September 2nd like we were the others. So this data reflects both the beginning of the year and middle of the year data points just for kindergarten. So I'll leave it up there, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Okay.
Getting back to what I don't know her name, the woman in the audience said, could you break down the students in IXL who are under one pilot and show that data, and all the students that are in another pilot, show that data, to show their growth, to see which group shows the most growth?
I believe we could. It wouldn't be an official report from there, because I'm not sure you'd be able to do that, but I can certainly pull that individually and put that together. Although I believe we were looking at the end of the year, I believe we would already likely have approved a new program at that time. So if you were looking for something from the beginning of the middle of the year, I'd have to get working on that right away, Mr. Weber. you get my drift. Like if we're going to approve a program moving ahead in March or April or at the board's will, then, you know, if we look at June and see, oh, this one did something different that this one did, you know, I'm not sure that
I
might be.
think that's what she was getting at.
Yeah, so again, that at the end of the year, again, we can, you know, I can pull that data, it would be hard to make it have meaning, because without the
Well, if you see,
proper context.
if you see the most growth in one group,
Mhm,
that to me would tell me that that program is the most impactful.
mhm. For the 3 months, yeah.
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 The only thing I would say is 3 months for some students is not a lot of data to collect to
Right.
make a long-term decision for the school district. I would think you would need more examples than one group of students for 1 year to come up with a definitive answer. That would be my feeling on it. I would like to see it. I definitely would like to see it.
Again, it's absolutely data we can pull.
But-
My concern also, Mr. Green, would be, you know, that's assuming that IXL is a, you know, again, what it's looking at as far as a data point, right? So, you know, the data means only as much in a context of other data around it, right? So it's absolutely data we can pull. Again, I can, you know, work on that. Take a while to pull individual students from the different pilots, and again, the graphs will look different because it won't be directly from IXL. I would have to just run those reports myself, but those are certainly things I can look at from beginning of the year till the middle of the year just to have that data available.
And we have to consider too, there's a lot of other variables that go into student growth. So it's not just, you know, an instructional program that we're using that impacts the child. It's what the instructional practices are in the classroom, if they're getting tier 2, tier 3 interventions. There's a lot of other factors, I think, that, you know, contribute to whether or not a student is achieving and growing.
There's a lot of context between points. Yep.
What I was going to say is that the data that's being asked about right now would be the same kind of data you would be needing to use to recommend a program to us.
Right.
Explain why. So that data is needed before the end of the year, because you're going to recommend a program, and I'm hoping it's going to be the best.
Oh, me too.
And the only way we can do it is through that data.
Yep.
Yep, and we do have a lot of data. I'll let Mr. Pine speak regarding, he's been leading the math pilots with regard to the selection. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Just in general, I would hazard against that being a central component of the way that we make this decision. In the way that we've gone through the process, we've talked to districts that have been in years 2, 3, 4 of implementation of the programs that we're looking at, and we've had conversations with them in which they've shared with us the progress they've had in data. But as we have the conversation with ELA and with CKLA, a new program's, it's not an antibiotic. Right? It's not 24 hours and you're going to see results. Ultimately, there are a lot of factors that go into that. We have, you know, teachers who are learning how to use the program. We have diversity of student populations in those classes. I would hazard against us just saying we're going to make a decision based on the outcomes in IXL based on those groupings. That being said, I can certainly get that together. I can easily get that together, and I can make that part of what I share with the school board, so that way you're aware of it, you see that that's there. I would just very much hazard against that being the central component around which we decide, because we may very well end up seeing that from both programs, they're not performing as well on IXL as they were with the existing program, for all the reasons that we've talked about before with the ELA adoption. There is an implementation curve, and that our teachers in the pilot haven't even had the luxury of a full year of implementation. So while that implementation curve is usually based on full implementation, we haven't even really had the luxury of that. A lot of the work that we did with the pilots was to, in addition to the research we did of school districts outside of us who had used these programs and had success with them, make sure that our teachers were comfortable, were bought into these programs, that it was a good fit, that it worked with our classes, and they were seeing, at least anecdotally, maybe qualitatively, the types of outcomes that we're expecting. I think quantitative outcomes after 3 months of piloting, I think that's a difficult place to put our selection process in.
But thank you for clarifying that you could get the data that we're referring to here.
I can, yeah, and I can actually include that in, if not this Friday's update, at least next Friday's update. I'd be able to pull that easily out of IXL.
Thank you.
I thought it'd be hard. I guess you could do it easy.
Well, I said easily. I mean, it's very, very fundamentally possible. Easily, I don't mean like in 10 minutes. I mean, but I can very readily do that.
I don't think any of us up here are saying that that should be the qualifying factor for choosing a program. You know, the teacher feedback is very important, the way that students interact with the programs that are important. This would just be nice to see if we see one that's like the kids are dramatically making a change, then, you know, that would be something that'd be nice to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Can I just chime in real quick about that topic? So one of the things, as Mr. Pine said, it is absolutely possible to pull that data. One of the things to just keep in mind with the data that is going to be pulled in those different classes, the way the algorithm for the benchmarking in IXL, not to get too technical, but the way it works is students stepping into the arena on an ongoing basis, and then they also take a benchmark that confirms essentially where their pinpoint is or where they are. And so the students that are in our pilot are not necessarily using IXL to the level that other students are, right? They're not using it as much because the pilot programs also come with their own data tools. So not that it's kind of, the analogy you use is apples to apples to apples making oranges. Again, our students that are not in a pilot are using IXL to a greater level than the pilot students, and that could affect the data. I'm not saying that it would or doesn't, I haven't looked at it, I'm just saying, not to get too technical, it could affect the data.
It's a perfect time to transition.
Perfect, thank you everyone.
All right, I'll jump right over that. All right, good evening everyone. I am going to be presenting the data for Slatington Elementary School. My first slide here is our middle of the year benchmark for math. The middle of the year data is on the right, and I have placed the beginning of the year data in IXL for math on the left for comparison. I'll give you a moment to take a look at that, and then if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to do my best to answer them. Okay, good, okay. I'm going to move on to my next slide. My next slide is very similar, except now we are looking at ELA. The ELA benchmark for the middle of the year is on the right, and the data from the beginning of the year is on the left for comparison. And again, I will give you some time to take a look at that, and then if there are any questions.
Feels like the data's status quo. So can you help kind of dig
Sure.
into the, I'm sure there's something happening, but it looks status quo to me, that if you look at the beginning, it looks the same as the middle.
Sure. So there is a slight increase or improvement, I guess, in what you would say the data. But the one thing to remember about the data is it's kind of like a moving target. Okay, so the benchmark scale scores are at one level at the beginning of the year, and then they're at the higher level at the end of the year. So you certainly don't want to see slipping in terms of your data, more red and more yellow to oversimplify it, and less green and dark green on the other side. So you want to see it the same, so you're maintaining or you're improving. Again, if you look at the percentages and the numbers, there is improvement. I think I have it here, 24%. It went from 47% on benchmark at the beginning of the year to 49% on benchmark mid-year in 3 months. So, but again, moving target, scale scores or benchmark cut scores are getting higher, meaning the on-level benchmark is higher at the middle of the year.
So it's not having the same number at the beginning, it keeps getting higher as the
Correct.
goes on. Okay.
That's correct. questions? Okay. My next slide is our DIBELS assessment in grades 3, 4, and 5. I should have mentioned for IXL, we assess in grades 3 through 6. For DIBELS, it is just in grades 3 through 5 for those early literacy pieces. At the top, you can see the different grade levels broken out, both beginning of the year and middle of the year, and then at the bottom is our composite score for the entire building. So I will give you a moment to take a look at that and then answer any questions that you may have. Okay, we good? Okay. And then my final slide is very similar to Mr. Schneiderwright's slide in terms of comparison from the building level and the national data. So the national data for students that are given the DIBELS 8th assessment nationally is at the top, both beginning of the year and middle of the year, and then for comparison where we are on the bottom, beginning of the year and middle of the year. So if you want to take a look at that, and then if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them. Okay, seeing none, I will be passing it over to Mr. Williams with the middle school. And I already prompted you.
Thank you, appreciate that. Good evening, everybody. The following slides that you're about to see are going to represent data from Northern Lehigh Middle School for the 25-26 school year. Again, Northern Lehigh Middle School houses grades 7 and 8. The data that you're seeing right here represents the beginning of the year, and this is September on the left and November on the right, or middle of the year data for math to this point in time. As of tonight, so one of the things that I did want to mention, as of tonight's board meeting, we've actually given 3 snapshots at the middle school. But due to the recent weather-related virtual instruction days, that window for that 3rd snapshot was extended till Friday. So as of tonight's meeting, we don't have that data, but it will be presented the next time that we do present data for you. So I'm going to leave this up here just for a moment and make sure that there's no questions that I can answer for you when you take a look at it. Okay. And then, as I said, this is our data for ELA. Again, what you're seeing is the beginning of the year data from September and our middle of the year data from November. Again, there was a 3rd snapshot that was taken by our students. That window just ended on Friday, so that data is not here. But I'm going to leave this up again for you to take a look at. And as you look at both of those slides for math and ELA, if there's any questions that you have for me, please let me know. I'll be glad to answer them. No? Okay. If there's no other questions, then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Bali for the day at the high school. Thank you.
I just want to say, Mr. Williams, like, I'm looking at your slides and I'm seeing slight improvement, and that makes me feel good. I would like to see more, obviously, but I'm happier seeing, 3 students moving up, 2 students moving up, as opposed to going in the other direction. So at least, to me, that's a positive thing that we're moving in the right direction, so.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Williams.
All right, so we are going to end with the high school data. Again, our high school houses grades 9 through 12. And I'm in charge of this clicker, so here we go. So as you can see, this is the middle of the year IXL math data specifically for our algebra students. These are the students that either will take the algebra exam in May, or they have just completed semester 1 of algebra and they took it in the winter. So again, this slide shows middle of the year over the course of the first semester, beginning data. The first benchmark was in September to the end of January. I'll let that up there for a minute or so. And if you have any questions, please ask.
And this is one class of students, correct?
This is all the students in the fall that took algebra
Okay.
in the first semester. Good question. And as you can see, there are reds going down, moving target, but our red is still going down.
So if they took algebra in the fall, are they going to be taking it again?
So that's a great question. So we have some students who take algebra as a semester course. They most recently took the Keystone assessment not too long ago, a couple weeks ago. We also have a group of students who takes our new algebra, actually it's not a new course anymore, but Algebra 1 Plus course, which is a year-long algebra course. So those students who are in that class will not take the Keystone until May.
So how will you show us the end of year?
So what we'll do is, so for those students are truly like compared to like what the middle school in Slatington showed you and Peters, they are year-long courses.
Okay.
So we will show you their beginning of the year all the way to the end of the year, which will actually end in May then. That's a great question. Thanks for that clarification.
Can you go into a little, I don't know, maybe I don't like red, but,
Nobody likes red.
sorry.
Nobody likes
There's a
red.
lot of red up there.
Sure.
And we're talking about changing curriculum and doing all these other things and new pathways and all of that. And some of those pathways don't include math, and I see algebra up there, it's really red, and it's a little concerning to me. And
Sure.
kind of, can you go into a little bit of why that might look like that, or what we're doing to improve that?
Sure. So that's, that question specifically, if you look up there, the way that is right now is that's only reflective, data that is reflective of students that are taking algebra right now. We are going to shift that a little bit for the second semester in that we are going to have all students who have a math course. So that could be geometry, that could be algebra 2, that could be trig, calculus, all of those things. Right now, we have not traditionally included those in our IXL data because IXL is a tool that we've traditionally used as a practice tool for our trigger courses, lit, bio, algebra. So we've looked at that data saying, well, that's not reflective of our high school, of our entire population of students who take math. That is reflective of just students mostly as freshmen. Now remember, there's a significant population of kids that took algebra as 8th grade. That data is reflected in Mr. Williams's data. When they come as freshmen, that's when they're taking Algebra 1, most of them. So this data is only reflective of those kids. It's going to be interesting what our spring data looks like because we're going to still break out the algebra kids, but we're going to also show you math overall at the high school, which we haven't traditionally done. So we think that we're going to see a lot less red because there's a lot more kids taking different math courses, and I think that's important for you to see and for all of us to see.
So you're just showing us algebra now, though?
Just algebra.
And at the end of the year, you're going to show us all the kids. So you're really not showing us the same students' growth from the beginning of the year to the end of the year.
So the ones that you just asked about, Mr. Weber, the Algebra 1 Plus kids, those we can show beginning of year to end of the year.
Separate.
Correct. The students that just now started to take an Algebra 1 course, we're going to show you those beginning of semester, end of semester. Okay. Then we're going to show you the kids that take maybe another math course this semester, second semester only.
So you're breaking it down.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So we won't all lump it in together.
All right.
Yeah, but that's a great question.
So is this data correlated to our Keystone test then
Correct.
too? So then if I see that much red and these kids are taking the Keystone tests,
Mhm.
is that, are they compared in a way that when they take the Keystone test, is that why we're on the lower side? And how do we grow that to push them to the more proficient side?
Sure, and
this is a little scary.
So I want to answer that in two sections if I could. So what you don't see, and I think what we've tried to share in the past, but it's hard for us as educators, it's hard for me after 28 years really wrapping my head around this. But we know we have students significantly below grade level in math. Okay, so we have students who are, in ninth grade taking this Algebra 1 test who maybe are performing on a 4th or a 5th grade level for whatever reason. Those kids, you will see, are in there in the red. What you're not seeing is that a significant number, and I can have that data for you and show you that, maybe at the end of the week report that goes to you, because I think it's important for you to know. There are kids in that red who in one semester have grown more than 2 grade levels. They're not proficient yet, but we've taken them from a 5th grade level now to maybe an 8th grade level, maybe to a 7th grade level. Some kids we've taken more than that. So that's kind of what's hard when you're showing data like this, is our kids are, yes, we have a significant number of kids that are below proficient for whatever reason. They lack foundational skills, whatever it is. But we are growing them. But you can't always see that when it's a proficiency graph. You don't see all the movement from within. So that's the one thing I wanted to say to you.
So it's a collaboration that happens because this is a foundational thing that'll start at the middle school or even at our elementary schools. So my opinion, I don't think it's right that just the high school, in this case, the data we're seeing, that it's the high school's responsibility to bring them from what you're saying is a 4th or 5th grade level to what they're currently at. So what are we doing as a district to help with these numbers in the high school, but at a lower level so that they can expand up there? Because that's I think the connection then.
Sure. And
So I can respond to
Yeah.
that. So there are two things that I just want to kind of piggyback off something Dr. Bali said. In the middle school, we typically have 30 plus students who are taking Algebra 1 as 8th graders. Years ago it was about one class, now we're up to almost 2 classes, so it's sometimes 40 plus students that are already proficient or advanced. So what you're seeing on this slide are students who are taking algebra typically as freshmen, but we already have 40 some plus students who have already on their Keystone exam gotten proficient, typically advanced. So this is just the students that are left as part of that cohort moving through into 9th grade. And then we recognize that those skills need to happen all the way through, that there needs to be math fact fluency, there needs to be a lot of things that we're building on because math is a subject that builds on, previous knowledge. So that is why we are looking at a new math program. We think that we can get a lot of bang for our buck out of, some of the new programs that are out there and the way that they are conceptualizing math so that students are understanding the concepts, not just doing, rote memorization, or they're not just doing procedural types of problems. They're actually understanding conceptually what they're learning.
How many students in 9th grade does that represent?
Sure.
Just, I don't need the exact, is it?
Yes. So.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It was about 60. There's about 100 kids in the 9th grade.
So that is, I have percentages here about that. Let me see.
Just so I know how.
So our year-long kids have.
roughly 100 some students.
Yeah.
In the 9th grade class, and if
And
we're
not
saying
all-
that 40
and not-
of them or
But they don't
so.
all take algebra.
They don't all
the
take
first
algebra.
semester.
Some might have algebra this semester as a freshman.
So that
Some,
data's not
remember,
showing.
and some have the year-long class. So yeah, I can get you the exact
Wanted to
number.
know How many students that actually
That's
represents?
a great, right.
It's not a lot.
Right. Yeah, it's
I had no idea.
anywhere from like 40 to 55-ish kids. Yeah. That's a great question.
And we're focusing on Algebra 1 because of the Keystone.
Correct.
That's the reason you're doing it.
Right.
It's not the whole math.
Correct. And I think that's why, we really feel that it's important to break it apart and show those other math classes that are also
because this is just algebra. This is just, that group of kids. And to your point, sir, it is a small number. It's not a huge number right now. Yeah, thank you for that. So second part that I just want to answer, then we'll move on to literature. But as far as, and you asked, I believe Mr. Schneider wrote this too, what are we going to do about it? So, I think what Dr. Stoker just brought up, our math department, really, actually as recently as Friday, we looked at some data, and as we talked about, we look at the data, but then we talk about what are we going to do about it. So they're very action focused on those things like really taking time in that 80-minute block for those students who we really need to focus on foundational skills. Who are those kids? What does that look like? Is that 10 minutes out of the 80 block every day? Also, something else that we feel is really important is, getting kids exposed to what Keystone type questions look like, not 2 weeks before the test, not even a month before the test, but in September. So every day, every other day in my 80-minute block, the first 10 minutes is we're throwing Keystone, questions at them so that when they get to that point, they're like, oh, I know what this is. I know what this looks like. And they're not. So it's just like little things like that, instructional shifts that, have to be purposeful and strategic. And, hopefully all together, those things will make a difference. So
as those are there and Lunch and Learn's coming.
Yes.
Or there.
Yes.
Are those students being helped during Lunch and Learn?
Yes.
And how is that connection happening? Is that becoming like a more of a mandatory thing than?
Yes. So
like
that
basketball?
connection, I think what's beautiful about Lunch and Learn is the goal was that we would prepare them to be able to make decisions on their own to say, wow, I'm one of those kids that I need to get to my math teacher because I didn't quite get today's lesson, or I just, got a 60 on the exam I just took. We want them to be able to develop that understanding and that realization on their own. If they don't quite get there on their own, after being invited a couple times, then it becomes mandatory. For any student who is performing below 60, so below passing, they're scheduled. There's no option for them. And they still have an opportunity to lunch, so they might have to go to Mr. Long, their math teacher, for the first half of Lunch and Learn. Then they can go for the last half and do their thing. But yeah, we give them a chance in the beginning. We want them to be independent in coming to that realization and making that decision. But then very quickly we schedule them if they don't quite get to that themselves. So, but thanks for all those. They're great questions. All right, so moving on to literature. Again, this is middle of the year literature. I'm going to let that up there for a little bit. But again, these students, remember, we're semester. So these students took the first benchmark in September and then the most recent one in January. And then I'll leave that up there for a minute if you have any questions. Okay, and then finally, this is pretty exciting, but if you look at this is Savas, what I forgot to put in there was biology. This is our biology benchmark. If you remember, we used CDT prior to this. That is a test that looks similar. It's the same maker as Keystone. But we have recently acquired the Savas biology curriculum. So that is a highly rigorous, highly engaging, much more NGSS standards, gosh, I couldn't think of it, lost me for a minute, yes, driven curriculum. So Savas is just the maker, and we use their benchmarks that are associated with that curriculum. So as you can see there, our data drastically improved over the course of the semester. So I'll let you look at that for a minute, and then if you have any questions, please let me know. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank all of your support as always, and I appreciate all the questions that you have, and we're going to continue to work hard at the high school, so thanks for all that.
And that is the end of the middle of the year data presentation. We will be back near the end of the year after our students take the end of the year benchmarks, and we will share out where that data stands at that point. If there are any other questions, we can certainly take those. You're certainly welcome to email me. We will post this data presentation on the NLSD.org website, so if you want to reference it there, you can. And with some of the questions that you had earlier, we'll get some answers for those as well. Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Green. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Malatoris?
Thank you. Board members, I did email everybody yesterday the distribution of the single audit that we did receive from our auditor. I do not have the bound books yet. They did not make it here by today. I'm hoping to have them in the next week or so. But we are looking at March to put the approval of that financial audit on the agenda for approval. My next thing is post-issuance compliance. So now that I have my financial statement, each year Pennsylvania school districts are required under federal security laws to submit annual financial disclosures on the Electronic Municipal Market Access website, which we like to call EMA. Information published must include prior year's financial information, such as the District Annual Financial Report, the AFR, the single audit statement that we just received, and the school district's continuing disclosure tables, which are standardized summary tables, which include key financial and operating data required by the district's continuing disclosure agreements. So the purpose of these filings is to give investors a clear year-to-year snapshot of the district's financial condition and ability to repay debt in a consistent and comparable format. I must also post the current year's approved budget as well. Failure to comply can result in disclosure non-compliance, which may negatively affect the district's credit rating, investor confidence, and further borrowing costs, and could expose the district to regulatory scrutiny or enforcement by the Securities Exchange Commission. The district must also publicly state that this requirement has been completed accurately and on time. At this time, I am reporting that the district's EMA submission for the 24-25 school year was completed today. Lastly, the 26-27 governor's budget. So on Tuesday, Dr. Link, Dr. Stoker, Mrs. Dada, and I all gathered to watch the Governor Josh Shapiro's state budget for the 26-27 school year. The proposal continues investments in public education by advancing adequacy and equity through increased basic and special ed funding, while strengthening student support services and school safety. It also maintains ready-to-learn funding, expands mental health and safety initiatives through the PCCD, and continues tax equity funding to address long-standing disparities across Pennsylvania. The governor's proposed budget includes for Northern Lehigh an increase in basic ed funding of $372,772, $76,287 in special ed, sets our Ready to Learn block grant at $372,616, includes an additional $25,992 in Ready to Learn adequacy funding, and $24,008 in tax equity funding. So again, that's roughly about $900,000 in additional revenue to the district. These, well, not additional, because the Ready to Learn block grant was just slightly increased. It resets the number. Overall, we're probably close to $500,000 in additional new monies in the governor's budget. These figures are preliminary estimates, and amounts may change as the state budget moves through the legislature process. So again, I am currently working on the 26-27 budget. We will budget some of these increases in, but not to the max, for fear that we don't get everything that the governor's promising us. That's all I have, if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, I do have a question.
Sure.
So you gave those numbers. Are
Yep.
those numbers based off of what we got this year from the state?
This is what he's proposing in addition that we're gonna get.
Compared to what we currently have now?
Correct.
So, because we got some extra this year.
Correct.
So then that will be additional.
That's additional to what we already have this year. Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, superintendent's report. Dr. Link is not here, so we won't have that unless you have anything to say on his behalf. No?
Nothing additional.
Okay, thank you. An executive session was held at 6:15 this evening in the administration conference room. We talked about student discipline, some legal items, and some negotiation items. She's pushing.
Next part.
Oh, okay, that's coming up. All right. Thank you. I thought I missed something. Okay, moving on to personnel. If you go to item B, Tracy Huffman, the effective date there should be March 23rd rather than March 30th. Other than that, I don't know that there's any additions or corrections. I would just say we're losing some really, really, really good people here, and we're going to miss them in our classrooms. So, is there a motion to approve the personnel items?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And so ordered. Okay, we're going all the way over to policy. And I think someone wanted to comment on policy, if you like, please.
Yes, that's me. Can I sit here? Again, my name is
You can
Kathy.
come up if you want, you can stay there if you want, wherever you're more comfortable. Okay, time's up, sit down, that's it.
All right. My name is Katya Bender. I live at 1067 Pine Tree Drive in Slatington. And I'm here to ask the board to make some considerations before passing the district calendar for next school year. So this school year was the first time in many years that I've noticed that we had an awful lot of random virtual or in-service or holidays very much peppered throughout the year, so that there was a very inconsistent amount of 5-day week stretches. In fact, we only had 2 stretches that were 4 weeks in length this school year and 1 5-week stretch. This does not include closures or virtual days for inclement weather. I see in the calendar for this coming year that there will be 2 5-week stretches, but not a single 4-week stretch. And mind you, 5 weeks is the maximum stretch. There's nothing longer than that. Children thrive on consistency and routine. And constantly having them go to school for a 4-day week, and then 2 5-day weeks, and then 3 4-day weeks, and then another 5-day week, it creates a lot of interruption in their general routines. I realize that according to the school calendar, a virtual day is considered a school day, but everyone is also aware that children sleep much later on a virtual day. Assignments for Slatington, for example, are not posted until 8 a.m., but we don't need to get dressed and have breakfast and leave before we begin those assignments. So children can sleep a lot later. This is going to disrupt their regular routine. In next year's calendar, from the beginning of November through the end of April, there is not a single stretch that is more than 3 weeks long of 5-day weeks. When we add into this the possibility for inclement weather, it becomes even less of a guarantee, as we have seen this year. February and March, for example, have consistent areas where there is a virtual day or a holiday followed by 1 week of 5-day, followed by another week of 4-day. In fact, we are currently in one this year, and I see it coming up again next year. Our students had the virtual day on Friday. They will now go for another 4-day week this week, a 4-day week next week, and then we're suddenly back to 5-day weeks. I'm not suggesting that we remove days off or in-service days or virtual days that are scheduled. I am suggesting that we work on trying to combine these at the beginning or the end of a scheduled holiday break so that we aren't constantly switching the schedule. I also understand that there is only a certain amount of weeks that children can go to school and still be actively engaged and paying attention. 5 weeks seems like an acceptable amount of time, even 4 weeks, but the constant 1 week here and 1 week there is extremely disruptive to their schedule. I also just wanted to point out that There are no early dismissal times listed at the end of the calendar. So there are school start times and school end times. There are early dismissal days listed, but what those times for each building actually are not there, and it would be extremely helpful to the community and parents if those were somewhere where they could be easily accessed. In addition, there's an inconsistency with the hours for Peters Elementary School with the school handbook and the calendar. The school handbook states that dismissal begins at 3:10 p.m. at Peters Elementary School, while the calendar states that dismissal is at 3:20. These are 10-minute differences that theoretically shouldn't be a big deal, but when you consider that students are only getting 20 minutes of recess, yet we're ending the school day 10 minutes earlier than stated on the calendar, this seems kind of confusing. We could be adding those 20 minutes to their recess time to increase their ability to retain information throughout the school year instead of ending the school day early. Or we should adjust the calendar to reflect the hours that they're actually attending. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bender. We had some discussion on that. I don't know if you heard it at the committee meeting. We went over the calendar in depth, and I'll let Dr. Stolker respond.
Sure, you had a lot in there, and
Yes.
we appreciate the feedback. Just to kind of hit on some of that. So students have to come for 180 days, or they have to hit the instructional hours, and we have, by contract, our teachers have to be here for 190 days. We work in conjunction not just with families and faculty and all of the contracts that we have to meet in our district, but we also largely try to work within the LCTI community. So our calendars coincide with other school districts as well. So some of those professional development days that are in our calendar are on those particular days because we want to make sure that LCTI is also open and can meet, the most of the kids at the same time rather than one school closing and another school closing at different times. So we do base the calendar on a lot of that data and a lot of that input. So we hear what you're saying, but just understand that, there's a lot that comes into this and a lot of variables as well when we try to plan that out. So we appreciate the feedback from a parent perspective. But again, there's a lot that goes into building that calendar.
Thank you. Okay, so we are at personnel.
Policy.
I know.
Can I make a quick question regarding the calendar? When she was talking about the 10-minute difference, what is that about? Like the start time, like what she was saying, like the end time, like what's going on with that?
So when we do the building instructional hours, that's completely based on instructional time. It does not include recess time. It does not include transition times. So it's based just on instructional hours that happen during the day. When we look at how many hours occur throughout the day, then we subtract for early dismissals and things of that nature. But that the numbers that you're seeing reflected on here, that's what that's based on.
Okay. Any other questions? Move the policy. We motion to approve policy. Is there a second?
Second over here.
Thank you. Any other discussion on policy?
Yeah, I'd like to just say, I think it's great that we are doing the Unified Leadership Club. The Boshi has been very successful, and I am thrilled to see that we are continuing that with this particular club. I think it's great. The student support has been awesome, and I think it's a win for both different groups at Northern Lehigh. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Any other discussion on policy? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And so ordered. Okay, we're moving to conferences. We have one conference. Is there a motion to approve that conference?
So moved. Second.
Second, thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And so ordered. Curriculum and instruction, we have two recommendations there. Is there a motion to approve curriculum and instruction?
There's a motion down there.
I'm sorry?
There's a motion down there.
So moved. Yeah, I thought there was a motion. Mr. Fedorcha, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. Any questions on curriculum instruction? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And so ordered. I have nothing under old business. Anyone? I have nothing under new business. Moving into financial, I'll take a motion to approve financial, and then I'll have my comments. Is there a
So
motion
moved.
to approve? Second. Was that Natalie?
Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment on the Lehigh Carbon Community College budget, and perhaps I should have done that before. The sponsor share of the budget for about the 7th or 8th year in a row is staying exactly the same. The budget consists of sponsors, student, and state allocation. The sponsors has stayed the same. The state, unfortunately, as Sherry said, they're giving more money. They have flatlined us again. They keep telling us we're doing a good job, and they don't give us any more money. So but we got no more money from the state. The reason Northern Lehigh's numbers is up is because it's based on your student participation. And so the more students you have on a percentage basis, the more of that participation, district participation budget you need to play. We have some more students going, so that's why our share is up this year, but the overall participation is the same number. So just wanted to make that. So we're looking at financial. Is there any other questions? We have a motion on that, correct? Yes.
And a
I thought it
second.
was- Yep, in a second. Any other questions on financial items? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I think next is legal, expulsion hearing. Motion to approve the expulsion hearings.
Second.
Motion and a second. Once again, we can't have any public comment on that, so all I can say is it hurts, but all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And so ordered. Correspondence, we got the Slayton Library Annual Report. I read through a lot of it. Seems like they're doing a lot of good things for the community. A lot of good people working there, and I hope they continue. Information, you have minutes of the Lehigh Carbon Community College Board, Lehigh Intermediate 21 Board, and the LCTI Joint Operating Meeting. Okay, recognition of guests. I
These
don't
three
know.
are the same and this is separate.
Two are the same and one is different. Okay, so we'll start at the top.
Three, and then that's a different issue.
It just says high school. Is that Amanda?
Hi everyone, my name is Amanda Mayer. I'm at 112 East Church Street. I don't like coming to these things. I really hate to bother you guys. But today, at the high school, no heat, not a good thing. And these kids were not in that school for an hour, 2 hours. They were there for 4.5 hours in 40-some degree temperatures. Not acceptable. I don't know who dropped the ball. I don't care who dropped the ball. When we had a water main break, those kids were out by 9 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock. Today, they were there till 11:30. My kid came home freezing. Most of these kids came home, they're red cheeks, red fingers. They were in those temperatures for 4.5 hours. Yes, maybe downstairs that temperature was coming up, but those classes upstairs were still 47 degrees. It's like being in a refrigerator all day long. And I'm sorry, but that's really, truly unacceptable. And I hope that it doesn't happen again, and I hope tomorrow, whatever was the problem, we fixed it. But if it's not, I hope at a respectable time that our children are allowed to stay home. We have a reason for all the electronics nowadays that we can do a virtual day. Why it wasn't called earlier, I don't know. But even 47 degrees, we have all these campuses, and you want to do a one main campus. Why weren't those kids transported to the middle school or the elementary school where the heat was working? Or maybe wasn't working. I think the middle school still hovering right around 60. What is the explanation of why our children have to endure a cold element all day in the morning for 4.5 hours? Please tell me, because that's not acceptable. And if you think it is, that's a problem. Why were they had to endure that till 11:30? Why were they not sent home? Peters, they're done. Their buses are done at 9. Why did we still wait? Oh wait, we had to wait for our meeting at 10:30. Well, in a warm building, they're having a warm meeting while our kids are still at the high school at 11:30, trying to figure out where buses are. I'm sorry, 11. Right around 11 is when they were left go. It's not acceptable, and I'm hoping that we can come up with a better plan, and I'm hoping that we can figure out if the heat's going to work tomorrow. And if it's not, don't send our kids. Don't let them sit there again. It's not fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Cassie?
Do I have to go up there?
You can stay there if you want, wherever you're more comfortable,
Just to
yeah.
piggyback off her,
Just don't stand out in the hall, because we won't hear you, so, you know, sorry.
Just to piggyback off Amanda, I don't want to go into everything she said because that was a lot of my points. However, when we were made aware and parents called, I was one of those parents initially relied to that there wasn't a heating issue. Secondly, if we opted to pick our children up, we were told it was going to be an unexcused absence because there wasn't a reasonable cause to pick our children up. I think that's unacceptable. How are we going to have, I was actually leaving to go get my daughter at that point after being lied to, and then I said I have pictures of the classroom being 46 degrees, and that was still at like 10 something, and told that they would get an unexcused absence, unverified, whatever it is, even though they were there. And then as I was leaving work to come get my child, I was told that we got the email from Dr. Volley. So I just want to know, why were we lied to? Why wasn't there open communication? We get robocalls, texts, emails, for everything else. I think parents should have been notified. I understand, and I was given the reasoning on the phone this morning that it's because staff had just found out 15 minutes before students got there. I don't know. I don't know what I want, but I just want it to be known it's unacceptable. We should never have been lied to either.
What were they like?
Thank you. High school, Mr. King.
So, just to piggyback off of what everybody else has already said about the high school, there's no way somebody just walked in this building or the high school building 15 minutes before it opened and realized the temperatures were cold. There had to be, if somebody was in that building, at least an hour early. I don't know what explanation was given. There's no reason that heat should have been that low. If somebody sat there and said we turned the heat down to save money over the weekend, that's absolutely ridiculous. We knew what temperature it was going to be outside for a week in advance of what was going to happen. If somebody sat there and said, well, we turn the heat off on Friday when we leave, and that's just ridiculous because you're asking for pipes to freeze at that point. So whoever dropped the ball needs to be held accountable for these things. This is the third school that has had heating issues this school year. I don't know what is going on with our building and grounds maintenance teams. The lack of plowing that happens around here, the lack of maintenance that happens around here. You guys are asking for tax increases for things and you can't even properly maintain the buildings that we have. You're spending all kinds of money putting logos on buildings. You want to authorize us to put a logo on the outside of the high school. That is unacceptable for you guys to even ask the community for a single dollar more when you can't even manage to keep the heat on in the buildings that we already have. The board needs to take the responsibility to hold the people accountable. If this is one person that's dropping the ball, that person needs to be reprimanded, that person needs to be let go. They don't know how to do their job. I don't know what it is. Decisions need to be made. The board needs to take control of the authority that they have and fire this person. 2 weeks ago when it snowed, I came up here to this parking lot to see what the reason was for why we were having a virtual day again. Washington Township was completely plowed, looked perfect. I would common sense sit there and say, well, maybe they didn't plow the back roads yet. It was this high school parking lot. No one was in the parking lot at 4:30 in the afternoon. Nobody was plowing it. It was halfway covered with snow still. Those are the things that the community is outraged about. Things need to change. You guys cannot ask us for more money when you cannot properly maintain what we have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I see no one else on high school, but I have someone who wants to talk about busing.
So I watched the committee meeting last week, and it was proposed to do the PennDOT study. Do we have any news about that?
We don't at this point. We're still doing fact finding, and we expect to be able to bring that back in March, either to a committee or
In March?
to the
Okay.
committee meeting in March for building.
All right, so I actually asked in September what we're going to do about this because my daughter is in the middle school and she has to walk 1.9 miles. So there's no resolution. He keeps bringing up $400,000, which is just a fake number. Half of the buses are empty. Not empty, but they're not full. So do you really feel, Mr. Green, that my daughter should be walking to school from Walnutport, 1.9 miles away, in this weather?
You're asking me, I don't know if that's my decision to make.
You laugh every single time.
I'm not.
It's brought up.
I'm not the one making the decision. All I can say, from my perspective, is students, even from my class way back when, have been walking from Walnutport
Right.
the 2 miles. We're taking a look at it.
Over
I
a
don't
canal?
believe- can I speak, please? I don't believe personally that this board is willing to commit $400,000.
It's not $400,000. That's the fake number that you keep bringing up over and over again. It's not $400,000.
Did you hear the conversation from the bus people saying it would take X number of buses at X number of dollars, and that's about what it would
But
cost?
you're also having buses go half empty that go right past my daughter's residence.
Okay, let me just say.
Again, you're laughing
I want to
again.
put some of these things to rest, please. When we assign buses, okay, they assign X number of students to that bus, all right? You cannot then just put other students on that bus who are not assigned to that bus. It doesn't work that way. If you have X number of students and every seat's full and your daughter needs a seat, I'm sorry, but you can't just take your daughter and put her on that bus. If you allowed that to happen, could you imagine the calamity that could occur? You don't know who's on what bus or where they are. It's not legal.
I'm not
to do.
asking for that. We can set it up. We can set it up that she gets on a bus every day.
But the buses are already full.
No, it's not. I will take a picture tomorrow. It is not full.
Okay, you're talking riding, I'm talking assigned seats. They're two different things. I don't want to argue with you about this. We're taking a look at it. We're preparing to do the study, and we'll know what the results are.
So we are going to do the study, or are we preparing to do the study?
We're looking at doing the study. We have not made a decision on that. The board has not taken a vote on doing the study at this point in time.
When will that happen?
Possibly at,
March committee, we would invite you
probably
to
at
come
the,
to
at the
that.
March board meeting.
And the date?
It's the first Monday of the month in March.
The date, please?
Second.
Second Monday.
Thank you.
March
Second.
2nd.
I appreciate it.
Second Monday.
Okay?
Committee is the second, the board is the 9th.
I'm sorry?
Always the same as.
Oh, I thought somebody said that.
It's on the website.
What?
The meeting's on the website.
That's the last person that's on this. No one else has signed up at this point in time for discussion? So if there's no other business to be attended?
I would like to say something. For your concern, we just found out about the request for the study last week.
That's not true at all.
And I'm saying I did not know about it. I just came onto the
Okay,
board
okay.
last week. And so we only had that little bit of time to try to discuss what it was that you were looking for. We have to then contact PennDOT.
We've been trying since September.
And I completely understand your frustration, because if my kid
Thank
had to
you.
walk, I would
Thank
be
you.
upset too. But just know that we are now working on getting the information that we need to do to get to PennDOT to see about getting the study done. It's not, PennDOT doesn't move, as DMV stuff, they don't
No, I
move quick.
understand that. And also, if I may add one more thing, it's not just a $400,000 thing. There is money that will be allotted to Northern Lehigh if that PennDOT study comes back. I've done my research. There's plenty of money that will come to the district. So it's not just coming out of the taxpayers' dollars, which also I think we should be able to give to our community. My daughter, all the kids that are walking, we're taxpayers. I mean, it's my child's safety. It's all this children's safety. And I feel like you don't understand that, Mr. Green.
I do understand it. I do understand it. I'm just telling you what the dilemma is, the finances of the district, what we have to spend. I invite you, please, to come back during budget discussions and see if anyone is willing to spend any more dollars on doing that. At that point, we'll have the final decision. It would be nice and easy for me to say, oh, yes, let's bus your daughter, but I don't know where the money's gonna come from. And that's the first thing that we have to answer.
And I understand that, but you also, at the committee meeting, you said that we don't want to lose any custodians.
We don't.
I don't want to lose any custodians either. However, I don't want to lose my daughter. And that's it, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yes.
Just Dr. Stoker, that to ease her concern, her child will be excused, right? That left earlier by the.
The what?
Do you want me to respond to the high school situation?
Sure.
So, to give you some information on the high school situation that occurred today, we had a failure in one of our electronic systems that would notify us of any loss of heat. When we had our maintenance department come in, and when they were aware that there was a heating loss, they worked on the valve that was stuck. They fixed that. They turned the systems up to blow at 120 degrees to try to get the heat up as quickly as possible. It was rising, and then it just plateaued because of the cold weather that was outside. Our maintenance department at that point readjusted. They closed the dampers for the outside air coming in. It did some extra things that they could do to try to make the heat come up faster. So we were getting incremental gains in heat throughout the morning, and then it just kind of plateaued. At that point, that's when the decision was made to send students home, and that dismissal occurred at 11:15 in the morning. And students will be excused, so if students were taken out earlier than that, they were excused. I believe Dr. Bali spoke to some parents specifically as they were picking up their children and notified them that, this would not be an unexcused absence. So to speak to that will be excused. We are, at this point, monitoring the heat, making sure that the systems are working properly. We're checking this evening. We're going to be up early tomorrow morning and making a decision about if there's heat at the high school and what that looks like for tomorrow, so that everybody that would be coming into the buildings would be in a safe and warm environment. So more to come on that as we keep monitoring that this evening and then into the early morning tomorrow.
I just have a question, and I understand your maintenance crew is working on it.
Yes.
But in the same aspect, why are our children having to endure that while it rises slowly? It's negative numbers outside. They should have been sent home, period. They shouldn't have to endure while it slowly, gradually gets to a temperature. That's not fair to them. 47 degrees, come on, let me turn the air conditioning on in wintertime in your office at 47 degrees and tell me how you would feel for 4.5 hours.
Why was this decision made differently than what happened last week at the middle school?
What's that?
Are we continuing to take comments from the board?
I think recognition of guest is over. I'm sorry, I hate to do this.
But there are legal
we are-
rules
we
of
are-
why the
we are finished with
temperature needs to
recognition
be at a
of
certain
guests.
point, and we want to know why that decision was made
So
differently today
at this point,
than
we are
last week.
finished with recognition of guests. You had an opportunity to speak, we listened to what you had to say, and we're past that part on the agenda. So it's time for adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Wait, hang on, I have one more question.
Okay?
I guess I don't always understand, but there is a school code that the building has to be at a certain temperature,
Correct.
Pennsylvania School Board. So they do have a point of, I guess they need to understand there was a issue with the buses and getting buses from one school back over here, and that's what the 11:15 problem was, getting the kids out of school. So yes, it was 47 degrees. Whoever lied to you, I'm sorry that happened.
The buses should have never even been sent out. Somebody walked in this building and saw it was 47 degrees in the morning. They should have turned around and said, we gotta have a virtual day.
Come on, Mr. King, I've asked you before. I've
That's
asked
what
you
happened at the middle
before,
school last week. Why was
public
it different at the
comment
high
is
school?
over. I've asked you before, and I'm gonna ask you again, public comment is over. If
You
someone
didn't
on the
get an
board
adjournment. You
wants
have
to
a
make
member
a
that asked you a
comment,
question.
if someone on the board
I
wants
made
to
a
make a
motion to
comment.
adjourn, sir.
What's that?
I had made a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn, is there a second?
Yeah.
Is there a second? Okay, there is no second, so I guess we're not going to...
You don't need a second to adjourn as long as it's after your
Well,
time.
you're right, okay. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no? And so ordered. The meeting is adjourned.
Air conditioning for the board members tomorrow morning, 47.